Hey guys, Michaela Vernalva alongside Jose Youngs of MMAfighting.com at TD Garden, where UFC Fight Night Boston has just wrapped up. And Jose, it was a big night for local guys. Which of the Boston fighters really stood out to you most tonight?
Well, I have to start with Charles Rosa, Boston Strong. He's been out for a very long time. He was actually told he might never fight again, refused to accept the doctor's ruling on that, came back, submitted Manny Bermudez off his back. Manny Bermudez is a legitimate high-level black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Charles Rosa is now won more fights in the TD Garden than any other UFC fighter ever. That includes he passed Conor McGregor, he passed Travis Brown, a whole list of guys he was tied with at first, and now he's the sole owner of the most wins in Boston history for a UFC fighter. So I have to go with Charles Boston Strong.
Yeah, it was impressive, and he even got emotional after the fight.
Really
obviously, a big one for him. And then another Boston guy who actually was supposed to fight tonight, but now is fighting in Moscow against Zabit Magomedsharipov.
Well done.
Calvin Kattar. We also saw in the featherweight division, Yair Rodriguez and Jeremy Stephens lit up TD Garden tonight. What do you see for Calvin's future in that loaded division?
I think it obviously depends on if he wins or loses. I know Yair was tied to a fight with Zabit a few times. He really wants that fight. So I think if Calvin loses to Zabit, they're going to have to book Yair versus Zabit. But if Calvin wins, I would like to. So basically, the winner of Kattar versus Zabit should fight Yair Rodriguez, and maybe the loser fights Jeremy Stephens. But the featherweight division, after the title fight between Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 245 in December, there's really no clear-cut contender. So this fight was amazing. There was no stoppage. If Calvin Kattar goes to Moscow and stops Zabit Magomedsharipov in his backyard in hostile territory, you got to assume it's going to kind of catapult him up the rankings for sure.
And then something very strange that went down tonight, the Greg Hardy fight ended up being ruled no contest because he used an inhaler between the second and third rounds. What do you make of that?
Well, it's an inhaler gate, apparently, as the internet is calling it. Yeah, Greg Hardy used an inhaler between rounds, which is not allowed. You can only drink water. You can't even have Gatorade. So UFC President Dana White in the post-fight press conference at a loss for words. He blamed Greg Hardy. He blamed the commission. He blamed the referees. He said Dean Thomas, Greg Hardy's coach, has been around the sport for decades, and he's like, what was he thinking? So Greg Hardy fought 15 rounds. As he said, he fought longer than he's ever fought in his career, and we're talking about an inhaler. He was obviously, his exact words were super sad. I think he was trying to contain himself and not kind of blow a gasket, but that is a situation I don't think I ever expected to see inside an octagon. It was a truly baffling moment for me.
And lastly, we saw Dominic Reyes very quickly knock out Chris Weidman. Just how impressed are you by Reyes' very fast rise through the ranks here?
I saw him in a few of the local circuits, and he was uber impressive then. He looks like a fighter. As we in the industry, he looks good getting off the bus. He finished Chris Weidman. It was very impressive in his first round, but Chris Weidman was the middleweight coming up, 2 light heavyweight, unranked, dominant. This felt like a placeholder in the rankings. He's number 4, and as he said, everyone above him has already fought for the title and lost to John Jones. He wants the next title shot. It makes sense, but we have to see the fight between Johnny Walker and Corey Anderson first at UFC 244. That's coming up right around the corner in Madison Square Garden. I would love to see him fight John Jones because he is a legitimate light heavyweight, and John Jones is just picking off all these middleweights right now. So John Jones versus Dominic Reyes, sign me up is what I say.
All right, Jose, well, thanks for the insight.
Absolutely.